हे हाय गाइस, वेलकम बैक टू QuantLab। QuantLab में आपका स्वागत है। इसके पहले मैंने एक वीडियो किया था which was about statistics in trading or statistics for markets, fundamentals of statistics. And some of you requested that I go further back and do more beginner friendly stuff. So this video, or rather the whole series, is going to focus on taking a deep dive into statistics. This is very basic and fundamental. I'm literally going to be talking about things like mean, median, mode kya hota hai, but also talking about what is the significance of that in market and how should you approach it. Before we do that, a little bit of theory. So what is statistics, right? Statistics kya hota hai? Start karte hain. So statistics is basically the science of collecting data, analyzing it, interpreting it and representing it. So आप डेटा कलेक्ट करते हैं, उसको एनालाइज करते हैं, इंटरप्रेट करते हैं और रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं. Collection in market terminology is getting market data. Analyzing is, running some thoughts around it, moving average लगा रहे हैं, technical लगा रहे हैं, charts बना रहे हैं, जो भी है सब कर रहे हैं. तो that's analysis. Interpretation is, चलो लगा तो लिया, अब इसका meaning क्या हुआ, right? What is the meaning? What is the meaning of simple moving average for that data? What is the moving of a small moving average crossing over bigger moving average, right? और vice versa. जो भी है क्रॉसओवर्स के सेंस में. इसके बाद आई थिंक व्हाट इज इंपॉर्टेंट इज दैट हाउ डू वी रिप्रेजेंट द डेटा, व्हिच इज शो इट इन सम फॉर्म ऑफ प्लॉट और समथिंग लाइक दैट. सो दैट इज व्हाट स्टैटिस्टिक्स इज. सो दैट्स एसेंशियली व्हाट वी आर ट्राइंग टू start to touch upon in this series. Two basic types of statistics: descriptive statistics, inferential statistics. बहुत ज़्यादा theory में नहीं जाएंगे, but descriptive statistics क्या होता है कि it gives you about the whole details of it, like they are methods to summarize the data as a whole and main features of the data set. जैसे there is a way to describe the measure of central tendency, mean, median, mode, जिसके बारे में हम आज बात करेंगे. Central tendency का मतलब क्या हुआ? Look at the data as a whole, right? Then the second comes is measure of distribution, which is how the distribution looks like. Data का spread कैसा है, data किस तरीके से दिखता है, उसका photo मतलब distribution of the chart कैसा है, like normal distribution or something like that. And then finally you get into understanding variability of the data, right? Range क्या है, standard deviation क्या है, variance क्या है, IQR, which is interquartile range क्या है. And all of these techniques help us achieve a fundamental goal where we are able to describe the data in some standard formats. So with stock markets we have time series data. So उसके context में बात करेंगे mostly, but we'll also go a little bit back into the fundamentals. So theoretically speaking, जो definition है, descriptive statistics are methods to summarize and to describe the main feature of a data set. Examples like central tendency such as mean, median, mode, variability measures हो जाएंगे, something like standard deviation, variance, range, etc. etc. So they define the spread and of the data. So simple thought है, एक बहुत common strategy होती है like mean reverting, right? Markets are said to be mean reverting over a certain time period. So कुछ price ranges हैं for a certain time window. It will come back to some sort of a mean. Let's say mean is this. So it will go up or down. But how do you know what it favors? That's what we'll study. So keep hanging around in the video. This video is going to be like another 5-7 minutes. Also a small plug. I did a webinar on Python for fundamentals, like absolute beginner, 1.5 hour webinar. There's a great recording of it. A lot of people liked it. We had like 45-50 people join it. This very detailed Jupyter notebook code. So if you are looking for something foundational, check that out in the member community. We have shared the recording as well as code. In general, all code that we talk in the channel, we are going to start sharing it in the member community, as well as member specific videos, member specific recordings. Point number 1, first plug. Second, description check कर लो यार, बहुत सारे perks हैं, WhatsApp group है, free discount codes हैं, account opening affiliate links है, मेरी थोड़ी सी help हो जाएगी, थोड़े पैसे बन जाएंगे, टीम को पैसे देना है, मुझे भी थोड़े से कमाई हो जाएगी. So thank you for that. Coming back to the data. So what is something that we want to say? Let's say we want to check the average return of a stock for a year, right? The range of prices that it has traded within a particular time frame. What is the standard deviation? And standard deviation का very close implication is, we work with something called as Bollinger Bands. Quickly अगर हम Bollinger Bands को देखें क्या होता है? Bollinger Bands are essentially band where the center line, where the middle band is the moving average, which is like think of it as like mean. Upper band is moving average से कितना standard deviation ऊपर है, normally 1.5 होता है. Lower is how much below the moving average by a certain number of standard deviation. So this is how a Bollinger Band looks, and this is very commonly used approach to measure volatility. इसके fundamentals यहीं पे हैं जो हम अभी बात कर रहे हैं. ठीक है. Inferential statistics, going back to theory a little bit, let's say there's a population, there's a lot of data. इसमें से एक छोटा सा सैंपल निकाल लिया और उसके बेसिस पे हमने रैंडम डेटा जनरेट किया और उसके बेसिस पे हमने कुछ कंक्लूजन्स बनाए या प्रेडिक्शन किया. काफी टेक्निकल टेस्ट्स होते हैं, स्टैटिस्टिकल टेस्ट्स हैं, Z टेस्ट है, F टेस्ट है, ANOVA टेस्ट है, एग्जांपल. So let's say again we are trying to estimate the average return of all stocks in a market based on sample stocks. तो इसका best example क्या है, right? We take Nifty 50 as an example. ठीक है, Nifty 50 है, but Nifty 50 is usually used as a proxy for the market. ऐसा नहीं है कि Nifty 50 is what is market, right? The market is huge. There are over, I don't know the total number, but I'm assuming 500, 700, 800, 1000 plus, 2000 plus, maybe number of stocks traded in NSE. ठीक है, तो there's like 2266, so 2250, like 2000 plus is what we have. And I don't know if the number was accurate to last month or latest or not, but the point is, there's a big population. उसमें से हम Nifty 50 निकालते हैं and using it we understand if market is moving up and down. तो इसके pros and cons दोनों हैं. In the sense of market, the sample has become so much important कि now it literally, if it is down, then other things can also fall down in some cases. It has become almost like a proxy of the overall market itself. So if Nifty goes down, if everything in Nifty goes down, you can assume that there's a whole market-wide impact. So we have generally applied this logic that inferred that the sample of the data taken from the population being applied in this case. Now this is a loose definition, this is not a very technically correct definition, so comment में मुझे डांटना मत कि sampling random होता है, I know that, but just trying to give a loose example कि इसका meaning क्या है, right? Couple of more terms that we need to be familiar. For example, a parameter is a numerical value, so the parameter could be standard deviation is a parameter, average height is a parameter, for a country weight is a parameter, for a country I mean even GDP growth is a parameter, so बहुत सारे parameter हो सकते हैं country है. Second, statistic. So the average height of adults in a sample taken from a population. So it's another numerical value that describes the characteristic of a sample. दोनों में difference क्या है? Parameters for the population ये sample के लिए apply होता है. Alright. So imagine you are studying the average income of all the residents in a city, the entire population. The actual average income of all the residents is a parameter. However, it is very, very impractical, right? सबका कैसे salary निकालोगे? So you take a sample survey of 1000 residents, 10,000 residents, whatever. Now there's a lot of depth in the whole idea of sampling itself from a statistics perspective. Statistics काफी अच्छे से describe करता है how to take a sample, sampling techniques क्या है, random techniques क्या है, sample को evaluate कैसे करते हैं, is it safe to apply that sample. So इसके tests हैं काफी, but we'll not go into basic and make it a very theoretical class. But the idea is that you have taken a sample and that calculated average becomes a statistic. So you use a statistic to estimate the population parameter, the true average of all the residents. So let's say if the average comes out to be, for Bangalore, let's say the income comes out to be, I don't know, you sample it for the Billionaire Street where, Indira Nagar and all those areas where a lot of, the core Bangalore areas where you have a lot of startup founders, the rich people stay, right? And then अगर तुम वहाँ से sample लोगे तो तुम पूरे Bangalore का average you'll say like ₹1 crore a month. But that's not true, right? Then you go to some outskirts in Bangalore and then you do that. So sampling is also important. You have to make sure you are doing it right. And if your goal is to do something over a larger population, so there's a little thought that needs to have. Why am I explaining this? Because it's important to understand the implications of this, because when you're actually working towards something, right? When you're acting towards a project where you are getting some different data which is just not market data, you might need these techniques to understand. All right. 10 minutes are over. I'm going to quickly hop on to the code. बहुत simple code है. Again, all of this will be shared in the member community. So some basic imports, just Yahoo Finance, NumPy, etc. Download stock data from Yahoo Finance, simple सा NSE index का data ले लिया. Then you calculated some daily returns for that stock. Daily returns कैसे करते हैं? Adjusted close का percentage change. Then I have filled any missing values as 0, get some absolute values, multiply by 100 to get a percentage and rounded it. All of these are very, very basic operation, nothing complex in there. If you're not familiar with Python, you can refer back to the webinar or you can just ask ChatGPT. So this is what you get. You get the data which is showing your daily return in form of percentage. These are percentage. Now we apply descriptive statistics. In Python, there's a very easy way to do this, like df.describe. It will give you the basic statistics. But here what we have done is we have used it raw NumPy purposefully. So हमने NumPy को use करके mean, median, mode और standard deviation निकाला है. अब मीन मीडियन मोड क्या होता है, 10th क्लास में वापस चलता है. So mean median mode are all measures of central tendency that calculate the average of a data using different methods. Average is not same as mean. Normally we use them interchangeably and it is for normal distribution etc. chalta hai, but normal distribution kya hota hai, like a bell curve, but average is not same as mean in statistic terms. Usually referred to as average, but all of these can be used to represent average as well. And mean is calculated by adding all the numbers dividing by the number of values. So 1 to 3, 1 to 10 ka sum nikalo, divide kar do, like 55 is the mean. Median is the middle value. So it's like, if there are odd numbers, then the central value. If the even numbers, then it will be something like take the sum because and then divide by 2. So for in the data set, the median is 6 because it is the middle number if the numbers are ordered, and otherwise you can just take two numbers and divide by 2 or something like that. Like somewhere close to the center is what we're trying to achieve, right? So mode is the most frequent number. Now this is a little weird. Mode can be, if the data is not numerical, then you use this. Not going to be used fundamentally for markets. Median and mean are useful numbers. So let's take an example. So the average daily return is approximately 0.62% for NSE over that period. And this indicates that on an average, the asset can increase or decrease by 0.62% each day during this period. That's the daily return. What is a median? The median daily return is 0.45. Now this is the middle value. The thing to understand is that the median being lower than the mean suggests the distribution might be slightly positively skewed, meaning a few days with higher returns could be pulling the mean up, right? So this is negatively skewed, this is positively skewed. This is your mode, this is your median, and this is where the mean. And if there's no skew का मतलब दबा हुआ एक तरफ से चार्ट इन अ वे, तो if there's no skew then it's a perfectly symmetrical distribution, mean median mode एकदम सब सेंटर में. But negative skews and positive skews are what truly happens, and this should tell you ki where the data is tending towards. All right, characteristics are there, like of right skewed distributions and left skewed distribution. If mean is typically greater than the median, this happens because the mean is kind of influenced by higher values. So again, going by the income example for a city, if you have people who are higher income group, then this is something that could happen. Standard deviation, we started with talking about this. I think standard deviation is basically somewhere in this, for this case, 0.72%, which means that the typical variation for the daily returns is something like this. So when the prices go up or down significantly, the standard deviation is high, meaning there's high volatility, and if it is low, it's low. Standard deviation is a measure of kitna upar niche ja raha. So it's basically the deviation that's being measured. In the context of Nifty 50, I think if the distribution of the Nifty 50 is right skewed, it means that most of the daily returns are clustered around a certain lower value. Then there are some days which higher positive returns that drag the mean upwards. That means ki if there could be some specific concentration in days. All of this, how do you use it? Let's say you imagine and find that on certain number of days or certain periods, time period, over a given period of time, like weekly analysis, you find that Nifty 50 daily returns is rightly skewed towards a certain part of the day. Let's say towards the weekend, यहाँ पे expiries आती हैं, वहाँ पे daily returns are clustered to a certain number of lower value. This gives you a way to analyze and look at the data. How you interpret it is completely on to you. All right. So yeah, that's pretty much it. If you have liked this first video, or let's say prequel to the video that we did, please put in comments if you want to see the series continue. We're gonna do more deep, more dive. नीचे जाएंगे, detail में जाएंगे. And until next video, thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to my channel if you have already not done so. Bye bye.